Hi, in this video, we'll take a look at 3 examples of solving the equation by the square root method. Let's take a look at our first example. 3x squared plus 9 equals 15. In order to apply the square root method, what we want to do is isolate x squared on the left-hand side. That means everything else we have to move to the right-hand side. Let's start by moving 9 to the right-hand side by subtracting 9 from both sides. Notice the positive and the negative 9 will cancel out. So we are left with 3x squared on the left-hand side and 6 on the right-hand side. 15 minus 9 is 6. Now, we want to divide by 3 on both sides. We want x squared by itself, but it's attached to this 3 via multiplication. So by dividing by 3 on both sides, we just get x squared on the left-hand side. 3 in the numerator with the 3 in the denominator will cancel out. So we get x squared on the left-hand side and 2 on the right-hand side, since 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now, in order to get x on the left-hand side, we'll take the square root of both sides. Y square root. Since there is no index here, the index is 2. Now this 2 will match this one here and we'll just get x. Notice that we also have plus or minus on the right-hand side. Why is that the case? Well, let's take a look at an example. X squared equals 25. For what value of x, once we square it, do we get 25? Well, when x is 5, 5 squared equals 25. But also when x is negative 5, if we square negative 5, we also get 25. So the solution is positive 5 and negative 5. That's why we have plus or minus on the right-hand side. Now let's continue with this example. So on the left-hand side, we just get x, and on the right-hand side, we get plus or minus square root of 2. Now we can write this as 2 separate answers. X equals radical 2, and x equals negative radical 2. Let's take a look at our second example. Notice here, x plus 8 is squared, but not 5. So what we can do is divide by 5 the left-hand side and the right-hand side. Now this 5 will cancel out with this one. And we just get x plus 8 squared on the left-hand side. And 90 divided by 5 is 18. Now, since x plus 8 is squared, I cannot move the 8 to the other side. I must first take the square root of both sides. When I take the square root of both sides, on the left-hand side, I just get x plus 8. On the right-hand side, we get plus or minus square root of 18. Before we proceed with this example, let's see how we can simplify square root of 18. Square root of 18, we can write it as square root of 9 times 2. And then we can separate them into 2, square root of 9 times square root of 2. What is square root of 9? That is 3. So we get 3 square root of 2. So now let's use this simplified answer in the next step. So now we have x plus 8 equals plus or minus 3 radical 2. In order to solve for x, we'll subtract 8 from both sides. Notice the positive and the negative 8 will cancel out. So we have that x is equal to plus or minus 3 radical 2 minus 8. Again, we can write it as two separate answers. Positive 3 radical 2 minus 8 and negative 3 radical 2 minus 8. Let's take a look at our third example. Now in this example, we'll take the square root of both sides as our first step. This will give us 5x minus 2 on the left-hand side equals plus or minus square root of 20. Before we proceed to the next step, let's take a look at square root of 20 and whether we can simplify this. Square root of 20, we can write it as square root of 4 times 5, which we can write as square root of 4 times square root of 5. Now we know that square root of 4 is 2. So we have 2 square root of 5. Let's substitute that into our next step. Now to solve for x, we're going to add 2 to both sides. Now the negative 2 and the positive 2 on the left-hand side will cancel out. So we have 5x on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side we have plus or minus 2 radical 5 plus 2. Now in order to solve for x, we must divide by 5 on both sides. The 5 in the numerator and the 5 in the denominator will cancel out, and we just get x on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, we get plus or minus 2 radical 5 plus 2 all over 5. And again, we can write them as two separate answers. 2 radical 5 plus 2, all of that divided by 5, and negative 2 radical 5 plus 2, all of that divided by 5. Don't forget to subscribe for more.